Really cool. Giannis appreciating history. He has one of the great stories as well in NBA history. Skinny 18-year-old from Greece to an NBA champion to a Bucks icon, and on the precipice right now of the next chapter of his journey. The trade deadline 1 week from today. The big domino is Giannis, a trade that could shift the balance of power in the NBA. Bucks are receiving trade offers as we speak.
I bet they are.
And so we are going full court press, Perk. We're bringing in Jamal Collier with the Bucks, Tim Bontemps with the Knicks, Tim McMahon with the Spurs and the Rockets, Anthony Slater with the Warriors. And let's start where those phones are ringing, right there in Milwaukee. Jamal, what are the Bucks saying about moving Giannis?
Well, Hannah, the Bucks are listening, and that is further than they have been at any point throughout this Giannis era. When they've been really reluctant to even have this conversation about potentially moving Giannis, but other teams have found a willing and engaged listener in the Bucks in the past week, which really dates back to that Oklahoma City game when they got blown out at home to the Thunder, and Giannis after the game really crushed the rest of his team for their chemistry, for not playing hard, and that frustration has been growing throughout the season. Really led to a breaking point between Giannis and the team, and why the Bucks have been much more engaged over the past week.
Thanks, Jamal. Next up, a team that was in the mix over the summer. We're talking about the Knicks, 6 games behind Detroit for first place in the East. Tim, what's their approach here?
Well, Hannah, let's go back a couple of weeks ago to when James Dolan, the owner of the Knicks, gave a rare interview to WFAN in New York City. And what did he say? The Knicks should win the Eastern Conference, or they have to win the Eastern Conference, and they should win the NBA title. If you're having those kind of expectations for your team, of course you're going to be interested in adding one of the best players in the world to the roster. Now, for the Knicks to do that, Hannah, it's going to be complicated. They don't have much in draft assets. They'd have to move Karl Towns and likely some other key players to be able to make a deal happen. But if the Knicks can get Giannis Antetokounmpo, expect them to try to do so, pair him with Jalen Brunson, try to end their own half-century championship drought.
Thank you. Now let's head to Texas, where both the Rockets and the Spurs could theoretically make this work. So, howdy, Tim. You got the state covered. What's happening there?
Howdy, Hannah. I hate to disappoint Big Perk, but none of those calls coming into the Bucks phones are from South Texas area codes. I checked in with a high-ranking Rockets source earlier this week about their approach to the trade deadline. They said, hey, as patient as ever. They were able to get Kevin Durant without shortening the runway. The Spurs are taking the same approach. They are not giving up young core pieces to go all in right now on Giannis.
Wow, raining on Perk's parade there. Gee, thanks, McMahon. Finally, it's been reported that the Warriors are a front runner in the Giannis sweepstakes. Golden State 8th in the West after a win over the Jazz last night. Afterwards, Steph addressed the possibility of the team acquiring Giannis. Take a listen.
Not ignorant to what's going on around the league. Rumors and trade talks and who's on the block and all that type of stuff. So I know what's going on, but right now it's just about trying to continue to win. The conversations are happening all the time. I don't ever get into hypotheticals. Mike is in the entire front office, I'm sure, making calls. I'm sure taking looks, seeing what's going on. And then if there's something material, something real, we have conversations about it and decisions are made. So that's our process. It's always been that way. I'm assuming it's going to be that same way over the next week and a half. But when stuff happens, you'll know.
I love it. Anthony Slater actually asked that question to Steph last night. Slater, what more can you tell us about the Warriors' pursuit of Giannis?
Yeah, you know, to Steph's point, Mike Dunleavy is making calls. The Warriors are aggressive in this pursuit of Giannis, which is really no surprise. But they've contacted the Bucks in the last week and let them know that, you know, if it gets to that stage, that a substantial offer will be on the table from them. And, you know, with some of the teams that are interested in Giannis, you know, they have superior player packages, right? You know, Tim was talking about New York. You're talking about Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby. But if Milwaukee prioritizes draft picks, this is a time for the Warriors to strike, because they've been protective of their post-Steph Curry era picks, but this is the type of guy they've always said they would go after with those picks. In 2028, 2030, 2032, those 3 picks are available for the Warriors to trade. That's when Steph Curry will be 40, 42, and 44 years old. So there's a lot of appeal to that. Is that enough for Milwaukee to make the decision now? Potentially. That's what the Warriors are going to try to find out in the next week.
Yeah, Steph's in his late 30s, so that window is closing. Thanks so much, Slater. Let's go to Bobby Marks now. He has a list of 11 contenders for for Giannis that actually makes sense. He ranks them starting with the teams for which would be the easiest to make the trade. So tied for first right there, that's the Warriors and actually the Pistons. And then the Knicks and the Wolves, as Tim referred to, the Knicks have a very tough path in their pursuit. So let's go to Bobby Marks now. Hello, Bobby, again, or Mr. Marks, as Perk calls you. What exactly is it going to take for a team to acquire a player of Giannis's caliber? What do you have to give up?
Yeah, it's the Giannis checklist. It's that superstar 3 things that you have to give up in a trade. I think the first thing is draft equity here. Anthony mentioned Golden State. They've got 4 first-round picks they can trade. They've got swaps here. Teams like the Miami Heat can trade 2 first-round picks. Minnesota and New York cannot trade a first. The other thing is young players on controllable contracts. I would give Miami a little bit of an edge there when they have Jaime Jaquez and Khalil Ware. Golden State has Brandon Podziemski, something Milwaukee does not have, those young stash of players on controllable contracts. And then the third, certainly you've got to make the money work somehow, expiring or movable contracts. I look at Golden State with Jonathan Kuminga. I'm looking at Jimmy Butler. If Milwaukee wants to acquire Butler, would you be able to flip him again next February when he's healthy? But that's the 3 checklist things I would be focused on for teams wanting to trade for Giannis and for what Milwaukee would want in a deal.
Bobby, I see the Knicks are high on that list. What would they have to give up in order to get Giannis?
Yeah, I would think it certainly would start with Karl Anthony Towns, Perk, here. I think that the trouble is that, as we said, that there's no tradable first. They can move out in a deal, and now you're looking at probably something else, whether you're looking at Mikal Bridges, who can be traded as of February 1st, and then you're looking at possibly OG Anunoby. I think that's the hard part for teams like New York and Minnesota who are trying to contend, is basically trading 2 or 3 of your core players for a player who, let's face it, is not healthy right now and probably won't be in your lineup until sometime in March.
I don't know if you guys are feeling overloaded a little bit with information, because Giannis is super attractive to most teams.
Sure.
But based off of this amazing full court press and what Bobby highlighted, I took notes.
Okay.
The Knicks believe that they should win the conference and get to an NBA Finals. So they feel like they're good. Spurs and the Houston Rockets, I mean, like the weather right now in the South, they're on chill mode. But Golden State is aggressive and Miami has the assets. So to me, it's those 2 after you eliminate the others that might be the most attractive. And I actually want to spin this back to you, Bobby. Is there a sleeper here outside of those teams that we should keep an eye on?
I don't want to say a sleeper that could land Giannis, but I think we should pay attention to the Portland Trailblazers in this. Just because they control the Milwaukee Bucks picks in 2028, 2029, and 2030. So if you're Portland, how do you get involved for a team that's trying to make the playoffs here, where you can give those 3 picks back to Milwaukee and try to acquire a player that can help you right now? Maybe it's New York as far as, can you get an OG Anunoby or a Mikal Bridges in a type of deal here? But I would say one more thing to the conversation here. I do think there is some sense of urgency. Certainly when you're looking at Giannis, who's extension eligible in October, and a team acquiring him, if this passes and we get to the offseason, he can't be extension eligible until likely January. So there is some type of urgency to try to get a deal done in the next week here.
Yeah, so just to clarify that, I just want to say, essentially, it's beneficial for Giannis to have this deal done within this week.
Yeah.
Right? If you're going to do right by him, it helps him.
Absolutely.
Right?
But here's another thing. If you're a team like Golden State, right, that's planning on throwing the kitchen sink at him and giving up basically everything outside of Steph, wouldn't you want some type of security, like verbal commitment? Because again, you talked about it yesterday, that short-term rental. You know what I mean?
You better make sure he wants to be there. Like Detroit has an easy path to getting him, but would he want to stay in Detroit? Probably not. He listed the teams that he wanted to be on. Miami was one of them. New York was one of them. So I think they have better advantage because he'll likely sign that extension with those groups. The other groups are taking a risk, kind of like a Kawhi Leonard Toronto situation.
Well, I tell you what, he come down to the H-Town, we ain't got nothing to worry about. He go adapt to that culture. See, they talking about raining on my parade. They ain't raining on. They raining on their own parade.
They missed out.
Right, when you lost, they feel sorry for their loss. If you don't want to go.
Rockets?
But Bobby, let me ask you this about Minnesota, right? Who would they have to give up in order to get Giannis? Or what would they have to give up?
Yeah. So you remember, Giannis makes $54 million. This is a team that's a first apron, so you basically have to match salary. No first-round picks to trade. Perk, you're looking at a combination of Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, Dante DiVincenzo. Like that is the hard question that these teams have to ask. Are they willing to move two out of your three core players? Remove Anthony Edwards from the equation here, but that's going to be the price in Minnesota if they're going to want to go out and try to get him.
Man, some really tough decisions.
Expensive.
Yeah. You can almost see like why a team like the Spurs would want to see what they have with their young core and not make a deal like this. It was going to be fascinating. You're all